Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LaTroy Gardner. This week, we have a visionary, a producer, promoter, author, adjunct business professor at Wilmington University. I like to coin him, in the same vein as the Black Godfather, the great Clarence Avant. We have Dave Wooley joining us this week. How you doing, Dave?
It's a pleasure. There's some big shoulders to stand on. Clarence Avant, oh my God. I just love that man. And we all stand on his shoulders. So what an honor to even be mentioned in the same category. But I know you're just being nice because I certainly don't belong in that same sentence. But I'm humbled to think that you think so. So let's have some fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, you sort of have connections to a little bit of everybody. So, I think it's warranted. But
okay. Thank you.
Dave is joining us today to discuss the two-part documentary on Iron Mike Tyson, the Knockout, premiering tonight at 8:00 on ABC. It's a two-part special. You get the first part this week, and then the following Tuesday, part 2. So Dave, just talk about how you got your start. You grew up in Harlem, New York. Paint this picture for us growing up there.
Wow. I grew up in Harlem, like in the 70s. And, Harlem is just such a cultural, vibrant city. It's a cultural mecca that, other cities around the world just aspire to be. For me, it was just a wonderful experience. I grew up and went to high school on 124th in Lenox, which is Rice High School. As a little child, my mother brought me to the Apollo Theater on a regular basis. And I kind of got the bug started in terms of me wanting to be in the entertainment business. And then, I also had aspirations to be in the entertainment industry by being a musician. And that came as a consequence of seeing James Brown at the Apollo Theater and sitting in the front row and the Godfather, and I'm like, wow, who is this man? And I remember telling my mother, pulling on her little shirt and saying, hey, Mom, I want to be like him when I grow up. And she said, James Brown? I said, no, the drummer. She said, oh, thank God. So that summer, she bought me a drum set, and that's how I got started. And I just took those drums and kept practicing. And I knew that those drums could take me around the world if I really became a serious and a great musician. And that's what I did. I practiced, I studied my craft, learned how to read music, and eventually became really noted drummer in the New York area, and played on many records and did off Broadway kind of a thing, and played for the Dance of Harlem, Dance Alvin Ailey. And then when I was about 16, I was discovered by the great Norman Connors, and took me out on the road with Phyllis Hyman and Michael Henderson, and the rest is history, as I can say. The bug was, really bit me. So it was really exciting growing up in Harlem, and just really exciting.
Yeah. What is it about Harlem that embodies that flashy, fashion-forward, flamboyant, get it by any means mentality?
Anytime you are around, millions of African Americans, it's going to be showtime, because everybody's
Right.
talented, and everyone has flavor, everyone has swag, and it was a time where there wasn't gang violence, of course there were drugs and things of that nature, but it was more of a family thing. I can't really put my finger on what it is, but it was just a magical experience just growing up in Harlem. And you know what? People ask me all the time, because yes, I do have a bachelor's degree in business and an MBA. So, folks say, where did you go to school? And I said, I went to UCLA. And oh, cool, California. I said, no, the University of the corner of Lenox Avenue. And they're like, whoa, man, but that's where I learned my game, like hanging out on Lenox Avenue in Harlem and watching the best of them.
Nice. So take us on the pathway from Harlem to Wilmington University. You just mentioned that you attended Wilmington University and got your business degree from there.
Mhm.
And the mix of street and book smarts and how it propelled you on your journey.
Yeah, I want to encourage those that are watching. I mean, yes, there's talent. There's intellect, but there's a difference between being educated and intelligent. What I like to think is, I take intelligence over education. But education is, and especially formal education, is very important because you really need to know formally what you're doing. What you don't know in business will hurt you. So, I got my street knowledge, but then I went to hit the books and got my business degree at Wilmington University, and then went and got my MBA from Wilmington University. But I had started my company in Dave Wooley Productions. I had started that company at 21 years old. So, by the time I graduated college, 25 or so, I had already been somewhat in business. So it was a great thing. So entrepreneurship has always been in my blood. And I've always worked for myself my entire career. I always knew the difference since a little child, the difference between being, employed versus being an employee. And I chose to be an employer.
Mhm. So your background as a child, ambitions of being a drummer and performing with Alvin Ailey, the whole nine, did it lend itself to you getting involved in the concert promotion game?
Yeah, well, it just was kind of an elevation. Um, I remember coming off stage, having played with Norman Connors, Phyllis Hyman, the great Phyllis Hyman, may she rest in peace. And I was sweat,
Rest in peace.
because I'm the drummer. Yeah, I was drummer, and I remember coming backstage, and there was a guy, with a silk suit on, pretty lady on his arm, and a briefcase, and he opened a briefcase, and it was full of money. Stacks of hundreds, and he was paying Norman Connors. And I asked Norman, "Well, who's that dude?" He said, "That's the promoter." And I said, "Well, what's a promoter?" He said, "That's the guy who put this show together. And that's the money from the ticket sales." And I was like, "What?" And I said, "I'm making $500. This guy probably got 100,000 in that briefcase. I want to do what he's doing, and so let somebody else sweat." So that's when I got the notion of being into the entertainment industry, and particularly in the promotion area as a promoter and producer. And then fast forward in the early 80s, Norman wanted to come to Delaware, which I had relocated from Harlem to Delaware because my father lived there. And he wanted me to find a promoter to bring him to Delaware. And I said, "This is Delaware, Wilmington. I mean, they don't have no promoters." He said, "Aren't you Dave Wooley?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, wow, that means you can do it." And that is
Mhm.
the exact quote. And I said, "Yeah, I can do it." And I said, "Well, what's a promoter?" And he said, and then I got a flashback of what that guy did from a couple of years earlier that I saw. And he said, "You got to put posters, and you got to sell tickets, find a place. Most importantly, have the money, to pay the band." And that's how I got into. So I brought him, and I made $3,000 that night. Plus, he had to pay me because I was his drummer too. After I paid him, so and he's like, "Man, I didn't charge you enough. You sold out 2 shows there." And that was the beginning of my business career as in the entertainment industry as a producer and as a promoter.
Okay. So did you primarily book concerts for a specific city or venue, or did you handle like entire tours for an artist?
Yeah, I did both. I did individual dates, and then I teamed up with the city of Wilmington and created a jazz festival there, which is later called the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival, which is one of the largest jazz festivals in the country now. And that was cool because I got to work with a ton of artists, and I wasn't in a risk business because the city of Wilmington, financed that and paid me, to put on this festival and allowed me to have complete autonomy, in terms of what artists would play and perform and build the stage and do the sound system. It was great, man. I mean, and I worked with
Mhm.
everybody from Dizzy Gillespie to, I mean, come on, Mongo Santa Maria, Angela Bofill. I can go down a list of the great ones. So it honed in and taught me how to really produce and promote shows early on in my career.
Okay. And a few other rock and roll Hall of Famers that you worked with: James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Run DMC. Any James Brown stories, since you looked up to him as a kid? Him and Clyde Stubblefield.
Oh, you did your homework, didn't you?
I'm a James fan. I'm from South Carolina. That's where he's from.
Oh, there we go. My family's originally from Beaufort, South Carolina. So
guess what? I'm from Beaufort, South Carolina. I'm from Beaufort, South Carolina. For real.
You do look a little geeky. So
I'm from St. Helena.
Same thing. Isn't it? So, my family.
Yeah, we have to talk.
Yeah, we have to talk. Great. We might be cousins. I'm sure.
Possibly.
Somewhere along the line. My family migrated to Harlem. My grandmother. But James, the Godfather of Soul, was probably one of the hardest persons I had to promote and produce. He was my legend. He was my icon. He was my hero. And I was doing a concert date, and it was 50,000 people in the audience. 50,000 outdoor free, like 4th of July kind of a thing. And I brought him there. I was producing the show on behalf of the city of Wilmington. And I'll never forget, I remember this is 6 years old. I saw him as a child, and again, here I am now producing, telling, in charge of the show. So, James, in his contract, he had a thing that said, he had to have a blow dryer. So, I'm like, this is James Brown. He needs a blow dryer. I went out and bought him a blow dryer. And I had fruit in his dressing room, and I'm all happy, flowers, made sure Godfather Soul was cool. So James Brown walks into the dressing room, and he's looking around, and then he picks up the blow dryer, and he said, "What the hell is this?" And I said, "That's your blow dryer, man. You said in the contract you need a blow dryer." He said, "Oh, fuck no, man, I don't need that." What? He said, "I need a hooded blow dryer,
You want to go to a salon.
I said, "What?"
Wow.
I got the blow dryer that's kind of like a gun. So now, it's an outdoor festival. I'm like, where am I going to get a blow dryer, that's hooded, in the middle of nowhere in this park?
All right, cool.
So he was rough.
He was rough. Oh, go ahead.
That I love him, man. And but it all worked out. I called around, found one of the sisters from the church, and she brought up hooded blow dryer, and I took good care of him. And it was a great show, and we remained friends, right up until the end.
Okay. So I've always told people that one of my keys to success is like finding my passion and then creating other branches off that tree. For you, it would seem like boxing promotion ended up being that branch from concert promotion. How did you first get into the boxing promotion game?
Well, having success in the concert business, kind of was a natural progression. I've always been a boxing fan, always been a sports fan. And watching those fights, I kept seeing a company named Top Rank. And I said, wow, who is Top Rank? Top Rank, Bob Arum, who's this guy? And I thought, back then, you watch fights on closed circuit screens. So you go to an arena and they have a big screen up on and then you have a sound system, and you watched it live. That was before pay-per-view. So I said, if I can do a concert, all I got to do with this closed circuit thing is just put up a screen in an arena, put a concert sound system, and sell tickets at $30 a pop. I don't have to get no blow dryers, I don't have to worry about no attitudes, sound check, what time sound check, like, this is great. So I thought it would be easy because of my success in the concert business of breaking into the boxing game. So I went up to Top Rank and set up a meeting, and they told me that they were impressed with my background, but said I wasn't qualified to run one of their fights. So what do you mean? I had the resources to secure the rights. They said, but you're not qualified. And they told me, and it made sense now that I look back on it. A concert is one night. A boxing event, you might have 25 locations all in one night at the same time. So it's almost like doing 25 concerts in one night. And it takes a whole nother level of management skills and promotional skills in detail. So what I did is I was disappointed, but they said, listen, because I wanted the whole state of Virginia. They said, no, we'll put you in touch with the guy who owns the whole state of Virginia. And that guy ended up selling me small very parts of Virginia, Charlottesville and Roanoke, which, and Charlottesville, Jews will not replace us. That was, you talk about racist. That's a whole nother story. Right. But anyway, I took those little cities and I did extremely well, believe it or not. And that kind of got me into the boxing game. And I did several other fights. And then eventually I was able to secure the entire state of Virginia. And that's that really was a historical moment.
Okay, so let's just explain to this generation like how big a major prize fight was in we might as well say the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's comparable to the versus battle today.
Absolutely, or bigger.
It's almost a must. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
It was bigger because you don't pay to see the verses. With the fight I was just referring to was Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler, and that was in '86. And you had to watch it live. Nobody wanted to hear what happened the day before. It was huge, and the tickets were about $30, maybe $25 a person, and that's a lot of money to go watch a screen. But it was that exciting. Boxing was not like it is today. It was the most exciting sport on the planet, and you had those types of events, and it was amazing for me to see 10,000 people in an arena, watching TV basically. And cheering and the excitement. And I talk about some of this stuff in the documentary on Mike Tyson, which I want to make sure everybody tunes in. May 25th, Tuesday.
Tonight at 8 o'clock.
That's right.
ABC TV.
And if you miss it, then find the following night you can catch it on Hulu. And then part 2 is going to be June 1st. Again, at the same time, 8 o'clock. And that's a Tuesday, by the way. And again, it'll also be on Hulu. I mean, first of all, to tell you how big boxing was, I mean, here we are all these years later, and we're still talking about Mike Tyson. And this is ABC, who's doing an event TV. This is an event TV. I watched the commercial this morning and it was countdown, 5 days left, 6 days left. I mean, when have you seen a documentary get that kind of PR, that kind of a plug? So today is exciting.
It was
exciting day.
I was going to say, it was another Michael that drummed up this anticipation with The Last Dance. So, I mean, it's always the 3 mics that always get our attention. Always.
In the so I'm sure you saw the TV ads. I'm featured in the TV ads. You did see that, right?
Oh yeah.
And I said in the ad, in the 80s, there was 3 mics. It was Michael Jordan, there was Mike Jackson, and there was Mike Tyson, and we all wanted to be Mike. The issue was, which Mike do you want to be? And Mike was Tyson was just one of those guys, that's the guy you wanted to be. You wanted to take somebody out if they mess with you on the street. So, again, what an honor to be part of this documentary. I want to commend you and your team, and a shout out to Angelo Ellaby and Double Exposure for making this happen. And you guys are just the best. And your audience very fortunate to have this kind of content on this platform. So I'm honored to be here.
All right. So just talk about your role in tonight's documentary on Tyson and how you became involved in it and what should we expect?
Well, I got involved because ABC reached out to me directly and said they were doing this special on Mike Tyson. And I think it came on the heels of I know it came on the heels of Michael Jordan's blockbuster success with Last Dance, and said, listen, we want to interview you. They came to Delaware because I was living in Delaware at the time, and we spent hours. They rented a facility, a nice, beautiful warehouse. It was in the middle of COVID, by the way. So everybody had on masks. The director was in New York. Was talking to me from a laptop on the screen and, in real time. But because I was the only African-American to own closed circuit and pay to that fight, I own the exclusive rights to the entire state of Virginia and Delaware for the Tyson Spinks fight. And, for those that don't understand, that's like owning a franchise. So anybody in those states, including the cable companies that wanted to show it to their subscribers, had to buy it from me. And it gave me a lot of power. And for a young man, I was 28 years old at the time. It was a historical opportunity. And to realize that I was the only Black in the country, because there's about 12 guys who ran the whole country. I was one of the 12, and then I was able to break through that old boys club. And then all of my facilities that actually had the fight, and we had about 50 locations, they all sold out and did phenomenal box office records. So my involvement, has to do with this documentary, has to do with all of that. And, being able to promote Tyson and make him the icon that he was. I would go give out free tickets to hair salons. You go to the barbershop, man, and you hook up the man, here's some tickets, man. Make sure you put up some posters, go to sisters, and give them some tickets, and when you frying the hair,
that grassroots
tickets. Yeah. And I did all grass campaign, and I went into areas that, that were often overlooked. And we were able to do numbers that had never been seen out of those territories. So that's my involvement. I'm real excited. I have not seen it. So I will be watching it in real time for the first time, as we all see tonight. I'm excited. Woo! Come on, guys.
Yeah,
Don't miss it.
Tyson is he's such a polarizing figure. So many chapters to his story. If we can go back to him growing up in Brownsville, under the tutelage of Custy Amato and Teddy Atlas, becoming the youngest heavyweight champion ever. His relationships with Don King and Robin Givens, the most stunning upset in sports history, in my opinion, the loss to Buster Douglas, the situation in Indianapolis that led to his arrest, returning to boxing, the Evander Holyfield situation, and then now the current chapter where he's such a beloved figure.
You don't want to miss this, man. No, nobody wants to sleep this documentary. This is going to be an event. You don't want to miss it. And it ends on a positive note because Mike's in great shape. Mike's getting ready to fight again, I hear. And he fought Roe Jones, right?
Jones.
And he looked marvelous. So, he shows that we can all fall down, and with faith and with belief in God, we can all get back up. And that's why this is so important for you to sit down with your kids, show them history. It's not every day that you have a Black man being featured on ABC for 4 hours. That's an event. My children weren't even born when I produced this thing. They were born 10 years later. They're more excited about this than I am, So prior to this documentary, they just saw old pictures of me with Mike Tyson and newspaper clippings that were brown, because they were old. And they flipped through the book covers. Oh, that's cool, Dad, But that was ancient. Young kids, they ask, was Tupac alive then? I said, no. And if Tupac was that before Tupac died or after, and that's how they view history. But, this is a history kind of a thing that's going to air tonight. And I hope everybody tunes in. You don't want to miss it. You really don't. I'm excited. Thank you again for having me here.
Before we close out, do you have a story about Tyson that we might not know?
that I can say on the air. Mike
Yeah.
is just a beautiful soul. He's from Brownsville. I'm from the projects. We call Brownsville Blacksville when I was growing up. So there are plenty stories, and I give those stories in the documentary. I don't want to give out too much. Come on, man, you got to watch the documentary.
I had to try.
Yeah. I can't give them my trade secrets, but we cover a lot, man. It's going to be great. Are you going to watch it?
Oh, of course. I'm DVRing it.
There we go. Everybody DVR. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I mean, God bless you. Cousin.
Yeah, I know, right? We're brothers. Family.
Yeah. Just found South Carolina.
Yes, indeed. So thank you, Dave. We're going to do a follow-up because, like I said, he's in the vein of Clarence Avon as far as being a Black Godfather. So there's so much more to touch on, but we wanted to, focus on Tyson and the documentary, The Knockout, premiering tonight at 8:00, part 1 on ABC. Dave will be featured prominently as he shared. And part 2 will be the following Tuesday, June 1st, same time, same place. But Dave, is there anything else you want to plug related to the documentary?
Well, I just want to thank you, and I look forward to part 2. We'll talk about, I have a documentary that I just finished producing on the great Dionne Warwick and her body of work. And that documentary has everybody in there from, Stevie Wonder to Elton John to President Clinton to Alicia Keys. I mean, it's an unbelievable documentary, but that's just a teaser. So stay tuned, and you guys are going to watch part 2 of this interview. And we'll cover plenty more. I'm humble, man, to be here, and I can't thank you and your excellent team for this opportunity, and look forward to seeing you again. Let's do it again real soon. And tune in tonight. Don't miss it.
8:00, ABC. For Stop, Look, and Listen, this is your host, LaTroy Gardner. See you next week with Dave. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for checking us out on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe for more great content. And don't forget to check us out on social media at GOB Radio Network.